All right, so Tom, tell me your thoughts. You've been here a week now and for jury selection. What are your thoughts?
Some of it's been really interesting. Some of it's been really hard to sit through, kind of monotonous. We got to get a whole college course on latent fingerprints that led absolutely nowhere, except that I think one thing it did tell me was that Charles probably didn't grab the smooth part of the bat because his fingerprints would have been there and they would have been able to see those.
Right.
So I guess we got that out of that. Having Adam testify, that was good. I think it was probably good for him to get that in his past. Same with Kay. That was interesting. I liked seeing her testify, and didn't get much from Lori. I was expecting more questions from Lori to Kay.
What have you thought about Lori through the week?
Yeah, I kind of thought we'd see her crack before now. I really did think that. I thought that she was going to just have a fall apart and not be able to really follow through. And I don't think we've seen that. But I think she would probably have to admit that maybe she hasn't been as good at this as she thought she would be. I think that she realized with certain witnesses that she probably is better off not to ask the questions that she might have asked and just kind of let things go.
There's been some witnesses where she's been quite fiery, kind of the more personal witnesses.
Exactly.
The other day with Nancy Jo, the one that went on a date. What did you think of that exchange?
That was really good. Nancy Jo was great. She stood up to Lori, and I think that might have taught Lori a little bit of a lesson. Like maybe these people aren't afraid of me anymore. Or maybe my skills that I used to have aren't working anymore.
When you think back to 2 years ago, right now, you were sitting in the jury in Idaho, and now you're here observing this jury. Do you ever put yourself in their shoes?
I do, yeah. I not only put myself in their shoes and think about what they're going through and what questions they might have, but just kind of feel for them at the same time. Like I think they're probably at this point kind of catching on. Like there's more to this case than what they might have realized, and theoretically they don't know what that more is. I'm guessing some of them might know some. I mean, there's no reason that some jurors wouldn't know something about this case. I think that would have probably been okay when they were doing the jury selection if they had an idea, but I don't know.
What do you think about the different jury procedures here? The fact that, we see them out and about. I mean, it's quite different than what you went through.
So different. Yeah, we were whisked into the basement with armed guards and everything and totally isolated from any contact with the outside. Everything but sequestered. Yeah, this jury, we're sitting there eating lunch and talking about the case and turn around and there's a juror there, so we quickly realized we have to be a little bit careful about that. I don't think their process was selective enough. We lost 2 jurors right off the bat. They, after all the opportunity they had to claim hardship or whatever, they didn't do that until it was just down to the 16. And really it was too late for them to do that, but they did it anyway. So now there's down to 2 alternates, so hopefully that's going to be okay.
Now tell me, you wrote the 1 book, you wrote the 2 books now. Tell for people that aren't familiar with that, tell me about your books and why you've decided to continue to follow this case well after your service.
For the first book, between the time of the end of the trial and the sentencing, I really contemplated, should I do this or should I not? My initial thought was that the high road would be for me to just go on with my life and not to write about it or make it about me in any way. But after contemplating it for a while, I realized that the actual high road would be for me to write books, tell about the story. At the time it wasn't books, it was 1 book. Tell the story, because there's a lot more to all of this that I think needs to be told. So I decided to do that. By the time I was done with the first book, I still had so many questions. We went through the Chad Daybell trial a year later, and I couldn't, the first book wasn't enough. So then the second book, which is done now, it's out and available, going into the 3rd book that I hope to finally put it all together with.
And is the 3rd book based on this trial?
It's going to be less about the trial and more about the whole case. I mean, we'll see what happens here, and if there's a lot of interesting stuff, I'll certainly write about it. But a lot of other people are doing that too. But just how we get from 200 years ago to this trial where we are now is kind of what I'm interested in doing, because I'm really trying to explain how a mother can murder her 2 kids I think we need to understand that, how that can happen, how we get to that place.
Right. Tell me the name of the books.
Chad, the second book, Chad Daybell, The One Mighty and Strong.
And the first book?
Money, Power, and Sex, The Lori Vallow Daybell Trial by Juror number 18.